It's Guido coming at you with a slight ish mini review. I think I've done a review on the K2, I think, in the past, but I just finished the 100 Battle Challenge on it, and it turned out pretty good. I ended up with a 58% win rate in this thing. You can see I've already stripped all the equipment off. I did have a good crew. They were my IS-3 crew, Object 257 crew. So I had a pretty good time in it. How would we characterize this thing? I'm going to show you some gameplay, and it's going to be a top tier face smash, which is really what you want. You're going to have a good time in this tank if you get a top tier. You'll have a good time in most tanks top tier, but this thing in particular is an absolute monster in terms of bouncing tanks that don't have a whole lot of pen or don't know about its couple of weak spots. But it's just a big brute, fellas. So 58%. Let's take a look at my statistics in this thing. 100 battles, 58%, close to 1,000 experience per game, which is where I would like to be with my tier 8 tanks. You can see a 74% hit rate. Not bad, actually, for a relatively inaccurate gun. We'll look at that stuff in just a minute. Damage ratio 1.31, destruction 2. Look at this armor use efficiency, guys. We've talked about this a couple times on Coffee Talk, but anytime you're at 1 armor use efficiency, that is a heavily armored, effective kind of tank. And average damage blocked, 1,355. That is crazy. Only 1,687 damage caused. It's the armor that keeps this thing in the fight to the end, where you can be effective in having a say on how things go. I'm not out there dropping 2,000, 22, 2,400. I do have some tier 7s, or 8s, sorry, that are sitting at that kind of area. What are we here? 1,900. There you go. The Defender, almost 2,000. And this thing is significantly lower than that. It's just this thing's armor. Like, what's my Defender? 0.7, and a Defender is known as a heavily armored tier 8, right? So I'm only 0.7 there. This thing, 1.0. This is Mao's levels of effectiveness at tier, right? Crazy, absolutely crazy. So did well in this thing. Take a look at some of the stats over here. This is with the crew in it. So actually, let's send these guys to the barracks. If I was better, I'd be prepared. Also, I'm out of coffee, and I intended on my last video I just did to get up and go get some coffee, but I forgot because I got busy. So you get to watch me send guys to barracks. It's a good use of your time, right? All that time that you have that I'm wasting right now. Anywho, 390 average damage. I thought it was 400. Never mind, it's 390. 203 pen, which is You're getting with the heat shell 270. So the penetration's not amazing. It's enough, especially against lower tier stuff. Long gun reload at 14.38. We've got only -6 on the gun depression, so that is an issue with it. 0.42 dispersion. Oof. So I did a lot on that with equipment to sort that out. 1,700 hit points is pretty good. Look at that, 250 on the turret, but the hull is 160 with good angling. The hull is good, fellas. It's slow. We're cruising around at only 30, not great, and 12 backwards. And its spotting's only 350, so it's a bit blind. Guys, it's just a Mongo punch you in the face kind of tank. And if you play it that way, that's the right way to do it. How are its stats? Actually, this surprised me. I didn't realize this until just now when I looked at it right before I started recording. It is 4th, fellas, in terms of win rate. It has a +3.15 win rate differential, which means that the average player is about 50% that plays it, but they come out on top. They overperform by 3% on average among the people that, what is this, tomato.gg, among the people that they have these stats for. That's crazy. I did not realize. Now, it is not played by many people. It's got 2,255 battles in the last, whatever this is, 30 days, 60 days, something like that. And this is NA. Let's see if EU changes much. No, same story, guys. Same story. Plus, not quite as big a win rate differential, but everything else very similar looking. 1,200 average damage. Go back to NA. And we're looking at, see, there's that average damage lower. All these other tanks that are up here have a much higher damage. It's hard to get damage. It reloads slowly. It doesn't have a particularly high DPM. Not very accurate gun. but the armor just keeps it in the fight so it can be effective later on. I've had some crazy games in this thing where I'm surrounded by multiples, sometimes even higher tier stuff. I've shown a couple of those in the last couple weeks, and it's just hilarious the amount of bounces you get from every angle on this thing. Like if I get surrounded, all I try to do is just put some angle on it, and if you can bait them to shoot into your side at an angle, it near impervious at times. It's absolutely insane. So it's doing pretty well. I did all right in it, like I said, 58%. So I've got a game for you coming up. It's top tier, just Mongo face smash kind of gameplay. That's where this thing excels. But you can expect that the armor is going to get you to that mid to late game more often than not in this tank. Don't rush out and just charge into people because Guido said it has great armor. All right, that's not what I'm saying. But if you are up front, you have an expectation in this thing, and it will soak up a lot of damage. It just will. All right, here's the gameplay. See you in a second. All right, fellas, here's the gameplay, and this is the kind of game you play the K2 for, to be top tier against sixes and just absolutely bully them with tier 10 levels of hull armor. Now, as mentioned, the roof on this thing is a problem. The hull is amazing. The turret is generally good, but you can see the top is sloped like that, and especially that central square is extremely weak. And people can just absolutely penetrate it. I guess on this particular match I was doing something. Let's just go. Okay, I'm moving finally. There we go. All right, so we are here on Himmel's Steps, on Steeps. 230-45. I thought I took a shot here. Maybe that was a different game. Yeah, it must have been a different game. I actually hit a scout with an HE round. A few games later, maybe it was the next day or something, but it was on Steeps, and they were over there in that middle bush there and slapped an even 90 with an HE round for 5 or 6, something like that. Clearly not this particular battle. So we are facing one artillery, the M44. There's another K2. We're actually going to have a pretty good time over here working together. They've got an IS-3A and an M449 and 2 Scorpions. So I do want to avoid just walking out and letting Scorpions slap me because they will penetrate this thing. And when you get into these hull down battles like we're about to get into here, you do have to watch out. If somebody is wise to the roof and starts absolutely mauling you, you got to stop poking and figure a different way, because they're just going to keep doing that. Now we've got 14 rounds of heat, which we're going to need here. I'd like to prioritize that thing and get rid of them. Like, there's a shot already. So I took a shot from the M449. So he penetrated me. Where did he get me? Let's find out. We can figure that out here. I was angled a bit. That didn't penetrate. That's a non-pen. Where is it? Oh, right there. There you go. So you can see that on the hatch. So that actually is another weak spot right there. The hatch is raised ever so slightly, so he did get into there. So he's at least wise to the hatch. Now he has one too. So we're going to play this little game here. It was a little... I get hit by the artillery for 106. That's a very tempting target for an artillery. I think we don't do this if there were more than one artillery, but we can handle it for the moment. And the good news is that the enemy team has just exposed themselves completely right there. Long reload, so you're going to have to play these very carefully. No sense being poking out there and let them have shots at me easily. Kind of a bad shot, and the stun hurts, right? I'm going to spend a decent amount of time stunned here because the artillery is going to be able to stun both of us as we move up if he times his shots right. We've lost guys, quite a few guys. Again, though, these dudes are out in the open. There's another bounce and another bounce. Look at that. We've already bounced 2,540. The other K2 bounces a good amount as well. But this is why you play a K2 for this kind of battle. I stayed further back. I was worried about the T-29 coming, and I was tired of the Arty getting free shots on us. We'll just thump this guy. A little bit lucky there, to be honest. Another bounce of 250 from the VZ. Our Arty is helping, so it's both Arties are thumping the heavy brawl over here. Let's just pause for a second. This is relatively unusual. You don't see this brawl happen two-sided like this, where both sides are kind of poking around the corner. Mostly because you get support back here. It's very tough for the purples to do what they're doing. Unfortunately, they wiped out our guys. It was just a couple tier 6s back there. And the AC's doing what he can, but they got to come around the corner for him to get shots. And we have a couple guys further back. Just kind of an interesting side note that this is a relatively unusual situation, to be honest. At least in terms of all of us being here. Often the purple team will be able to come to this corner once they start to win this side and push you back and around. I got a damaged gun. I really need to get that fixed. There we go. Well, you don't want to be using a damaged gun with this tank, man. It's already inaccurate enough. Was a little bit difficult working with him. There we go. We get that guy dead. I get tracked. Hit again. Took some damage that time. Let's see where that one came in. I bet that one was also a roof shot. Yes, now there's 2 marks. So same idea. He got the hatch as well. But none of them are shooting that center hatch right there so far. The piece of metal on the top. And I was a bit worried about it because they are slightly higher than I am. Now I'm going to try to get his hatch. There we go. So he puts one on me. Low rolls a 275. That hurts a bit. I'm able to snipe his hatch and put a big hit on him. Now he's down low on hit points. Try to finish him off here if we can. Yep. Nice. And we're at the 2,600. We bounced 3,030. You know, there's not a whole lot of epic skill going on here. It's just managing your exposure, picking the right guys to shoot. Not that I necessarily did that every time. But it's just brawling, right? And relying on a bunch of armor. 3,270. I have 1,700 hit points. That's basically 2 more tanks worth of hit points. Now the Scorpion finally gets that big hit on me that I was trying to avoid and brings me down to 208. So I'm very low hit points. 3,270 bounce, 520 assist in there. I think there's a blind shot in there, to be honest, because I believe this is a 3,000 damage game. And I think I get killed here pretty quickly by the Scorpion that's hiding in the bush. That did not hit anything, because you can see it hit behind there. So I don't know where the other Scorpion is. He has not been spotted yet. There's actually a baby Scorpion there somewhere as well. Try to make a move across here. He dies. M44 got the other K2, but we've done the damage, fellas. Could be tricky if they're turtled up nicely. Yeah, I remember what happens here. This guy gets me. I might get one shot in on him, I think. I wasn't paying attention. Did I shoot HE into that bush? That might have been where I shot 2 HE two HE rounds. Blah blah. I need more coffee. And I'm almost done with my coffee, so I'll have to get another cup before I make another video. All right, 360, baby. That's a nice low roll. So I was thinking, stupidly, that I might be able to get in here and maybe he won't poke. He actually out reloads me. Probably knows that. Not by a whole bunch, but he will out reload me. He's gonna come out here and get me. Oh, dadgummit. So maybe the blind shot didn't go in, actually, now that I think about it. 3,241, 3,760 bounce. That's, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is why you play a tank like the K2. You get into games like this. Now, it will bounce nicely at higher tiers, but again, the turret is a bit of a weak sister on this thing. And when you get to the higher tiers and players that know what they're doing, it's kind of like Patton Type 59 kind of thing with the giant tumor or any of the tanks that have very obvious spots. You're gonna get penetrated in that spot constantly, and will get a little bit annoying. And anything that's taller than you, which is quite a few tanks, is going to have an even easier time. Plus, that little hatch is a bit of a weak spot. At least these guys knew that particular situation. But the overmatch problem on that central, dorsal forehead plate right there it's a problem. You will collect a lot of shots on it. But when this thing works, it's slow, inaccurate, ungainly. But when it works, when you get just a face-smashing game like this, it can be a lot of fun. All right, fellas, that's all I've got. Have a great one. We will see you.